everyone, and welcome back to the Beilein to Victory podcast. It's been a long break. I took a extended vacation from the podcast after the national championship game. Obviously, it was disappointing. Um, so we'll just go through that real quick with a quick basketball roundup, and we'll cover what's happened since the last time I had a podcast. I'll go over general Big Ten predictions for football this year, and I'll have a set of rankings for each podcast up until the football season. And today we'll start with quarterbacks, and I'll show my rankings there. Also have coach rankings, offensive, defensive, and then final Big Ten rankings, final national rankings before the first game of the season. So lots happened since the last time I had a podcast. Obviously, they lost the national championship game. They lost to an all-time team, and DiVincenzo there was unconscious in that game. There was nothing they could do. They weren't going to win that game. But it was a good run. Wagner obviously left. Matthews is coming back. Duncan Robinson was recently just signed, and he's playing right now in the Summer League for Miami, as is Derek Walton. Wagner is obviously playing for the Lakers as he was drafted. And also Rockman, who is hurt right now, he broke his foot, will be signed. He's going to get signed. Probably to a G League team, but he would be playing Summer League right now if he wasn't injured. But I expect him to sign probably a two-way contract with the team, but we'll see how that plays out. Next year, Simpson, Matthews, Livers will obviously start, and then new starters, Jordan Poole, great scorer, and John Teskey, who I think is going to take a big step this year. He'll be able to hold down the front court with Wagner gone, and I expect Matthews to be in contention for Big Ten Player of the Year. And I don't expect them to take a step back. I think they'll have a good chance to make the Final Four again, but we'll see. But right now, we are going to head into football season. This is what we're going to be in this mode until pretty much the end of the football season. Last year, obviously, disappointing year for Michigan, going 8-5. Really, it was not acceptable. They lost every big game. They beat one bowl team, and it was Purdue, so not really a great bowl team. It wasn't, it can't happen again. I'll tell you that right now. If it happens again, Jim Harbaugh will not be coaching at Michigan next year. But that said, they're returning most of their starters from last year, and they've added a 5-star quarterback. I expect nothing less than a playoff appearance and a Big Ten title. Gotta have it. Absolutely have to have it. They must beat Ohio State. They must beat Michigan State this year. They can drop a game, Penn State, Wisconsin, Notre Dame, whatever it is, but they've got to beat Ohio State, Michigan State this year. Absolutely has to happen. I expect them to be right up there. I expect that Ohio State-Michigan game to end the season to decide who will win the Big Ten East and go play Wisconsin, because the Big Ten West is absolutely brutal. Just awful. And as part of the rankings, I will also have my predictions for each and every game this year as we go game by game. So the day before we play Notre Dame, I'll definitely have a podcast, and I'll predict that game. We'll go over everything that can happen in that game. But let's get going with my ranking series, and we'll start with the quarterbacks. The first two guys on this list, Trace McSorley and Shea Patterson. There's about a list of 10, 15 quarterbacks in the country that are elite, and I think these two are on that level. Maybe Brian Lewerke as well. McSorley has proven himself over the last few years. You got other guys like Jarrett Stidham, Auburn, guy from Oregon, Will Greer from West Virginia. These guys are up there too in this elite ranking. But as you head down the list, 1, 2, and 3 are very close for me. These three are great quarterbacks. Obviously starting with McSorley because of his experience, and then I got Shea Patterson. He has the most talent, I think, out of any quarterback on this list. And Brian Lewerke has really proven himself over the last couple of years, helping a Michigan State team. And they're going to be good this year as well. And All right, and then you go right down to Dwayne Haskins. This is why Ohio State, I believe, is going to take a little bit of a step back because J.T. Barrett was one of the greatest college quarterbacks of all time. And now they're going to add Dwayne Haskins, who obviously played well in that Michigan game. But you got to see how he performs to start the year. And who knows, maybe Tate Martell gets in there. Who knows? Alex Hornibrook's in here at 5. I've never been a big fan of Alex Hornibrook. He's always been kind of the game manager type guy. He's not going to turn it over. But he's not going to throw many touchdowns. He's like he's a slightly better Brandon Peters for me. Peters obviously didn't play well in the South Carolina game. Before that, he didn't turn the ball over at all. So Hornibrook really doesn't do it for me. But Wisconsin's defense and the way they coach, Paul Chryst is a great coach. So I expect them to be very good this year. Now then you go right here. This is where it kind of drops off. You get the first 5 teams, obviously, in the Big Ten, which is the same thing last year. There were 5 very good teams. Obviously, Michigan didn't perform as well as they could have. You got Clayton Thorson, who's a pretty good quarterback at Northwestern. And you go right down the list here. Nate Stanley, David Blow, Peyton Ramsey. These 3 very close for me. Stanley, a little bit better. But those other 2, Michigan faced last year, and they really didn't do much. This guy for Nebraska, Adrian Martinez, could have been higher on the list. Great young quarterback, but you don't know how he's going to perform. Max Bornschlager, I don't really know anything about him or Vic Viramontes, but I needed to put Rutgers in Illinois at 13 and 14. And I know about Illinois' situation as their quarterback, Jeff George, just transferred to Michigan. He's going to be one of the 4 quarterbacks we have. So they're going to be starting an incoming freshman, and they're going to struggle, and they're not going to be good this year. Once again, it's going to be a tough year for Illinois, and, it's not good. They're going to be awful. So is Rutgers. I mean, if you look at Michigan's schedule, they do have a tough schedule. I mean, they have to play all these teams, these other 4 elite teams. But they do get cupcake games like Rutgers and Maryland and all these other teams. So, I mean, I expect them to obviously win those games, and I expect them to maybe drop a game in the Big Ten, probably Penn State. Penn State at home, I think, is a trap game. And that's the one I think they're going to drop this year. But that'll come later in my ranking set. So, as we get into football season, my rankings and my podcasts will come, obviously, Wednesdays, as today was, and I'll probably do them on Sundays as well, right after we play, as I want that to continue into the season, and I'll be able to do them right after we play games. And I'll be doing rankings every podcast from now on, and I don't know if we'll be able to do it this Sunday, but I will definitely be back next Wednesday. We're probably going to go right into the coaching rankings, and I can go off on Jim Harbaugh. I've really not been impressed with. But that's going to do it. Thank you for watching, and we'll be back.